to Hanam with RAKStar. We're happy to be here once again with all of you. If this is your first time joining this session, happy to have new members community joining the sessions. Just a summary before I start. This is a community space where we share with passionate members of the RAK Wireless community and talk about their hacks, their cool projects they are working on, and also many other experiences. I am Maria Hernandez, Developer Relation Lead at RAK, and I will be moderating this session next to my colleague, Jose Marcelino, our solution architect.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing okay.
And for those who join us like every Friday, you must all know that your participation and our opinions are super important for the team. And this is why we like you to invite all those new members who are joining the session to leave their comments about the Hands with RAKStars session via Twitter. So everyone who does this will be receiving a cool Wizblog t-shirt as a thank you from the RAK Wireless team. And remember that for a valid participation to get a t-shirt, you must mention the RAK Wireless Twitter account and also must use the hashtag RAKStars. Okay. So we also have another surprise, but we are going to be mentioning later. So we have, without further ado, time to introduce our guest. In today's session, we'll be chatting with an astrophysicist who set out of the software development world and joined the hardware world to create cool connected things. As also, he's an individual super passionate about communities and open source project. His name is Xose Peréz, and welcome, Xose.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Welcome. It's always fun to be introduced as an astrophysicist. So I've never worked like that.
Well, you studied and you never do anything related to it.
No, it's pretty complicated to actually work as an astrophysicist because there are very few places where you can work actually.
Definitely. Well, you will tell us a little bit more about it in a bit. So yeah, to start, just tell us a little bit more about yourself, about like your background, education, as we just mentioned it, and also like I am super intrigued about what you switched from the software developer world after many years to the hardware world. And yeah, basically, let's start with that.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Well, I was born in Barcelona 45 years ago, and I studied astrophysics in Barcelona, but I never worked as an astrophysicist. When in the last course, when we wanted to decide what we should work on, there was like a class where they told us, okay, half of the physicists work as teachers, a third of the rest work as an informatics and computer science, and then there are very few people actually working as a physicist. So I tried the teacher thing and I failed miserably. So I tried the second best option, which was computer science.
Okay.
And I started doing, in the beginning, like I worked in a GIS company doing geographic information systems for 8 years. It was a time when Google Maps came up, so it was pretty interesting times back then. And then I switched to different types of companies, from social networks to payment gateways to different stuff. But everything was virtual in the sense that everything was behind the screen. and suddenly it became like boring and, well, not boring. And there's a lot of people having fun doing just programming, and that's cool. But for me, it became like there's something lacking here. And I started playing with stuff, with Arduinos, with this kind of stuff, and it was so interesting. And I started doing my first projects inside the companies I was working on.
Oh, nice.
So, for instance, my first connected object, well, actually I have it here. I don't know if you see it. It's
So
a matrix
nice.
display. That is say like information about the house. how much power are we right now consuming, temperature, this kind of stuff. And it's called the Rentalito. Rentalito from rentals. I was working at a company and we were working on a video on demand solution. Right. So it was just cool to have a display with the rentals we were doing every day, every week, etc. So that was the Rentalito. That was the reason for the Rentalito. And in the beginning, it was an Arduino Uno with an Ethernet shield and script in PHP in my computer, querying the database of the server. So like a puzzle of different stuff. It was amazing. It worked at all. And the Rentalito has suffered different metamorphoses over his life. It switched to Wi-Fi with, I have it here. I don't know if you recall this one, the RNXV. It was like a fast replacement to give Wi-Fi to your Arduino back then. Then I switched to SparkCore. And finally to an ESP8266, which is what it has now. Right. So that was my first project. And it was when I was working in PHP, actually, doing PHP.
Doing PHP, interesting. And like how you can describe like those first months working with electronic, like was like hard for you, or do you think like the community was there for you to get started in a simple way?
I think the best thing about Arduino is that it's really easy to get started, and you don't have to know anything about electronics, almost anything about electronics. In the university, I studied electronics because it's astrophysics or physics. It's a second cycle here, so you study electronics first and other stuff, mathematics, and then you specialize yourself in something else. So I had a background that was like maybe 10 years before that. So Arduino was easy enough to get started with. It was almost like programming, and it just was stacking things on top of the other, and it was cool. The worst, if I recall correctly, the worst part was to actually find out what pins should I connect to the controller of the matrix display, and in which order, because there were like 8 of them. It was pretty complex.
Okay.
that was the most complicated.
Is it like a bit shifter or something like that? Yeah.
I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't remember. But back then it was like, what are all these cables doing?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So you didn't start commercially, right? You started as like a hobby?
Yeah, it all started like a hobby. And and it was a hobby until actually we as a family decided to change our lives. And that was like 7 years ago, maybe. And we left our jobs. My wife, she worked and she works as teacher. And we decided to go on a family trip to South America for 6 months.
Nice.
And after that, when we were back to Barcelona, big city, we knew we had to change our lives, and we moved to a small town. Now I live in a small town. I can see the sea from the window here.
Oh.
Not now because it's dark, but
That's great.
That's a great change family-wise. And that was a time to make a change professionally also for me. So what had been a hobby, I tried to turn it into something that I can live from. And I started doing projects like a mix of programming, electronics, making, like Maker does. And the cool thing was that I had all these different knowledges, but maybe I'm not an expert on anything, but I can see the whole display. And that was cool to start doing some proof of concept projects for different companies that they needed, like to do something quick to test if their idea is feasible. And those were the first projects I worked on.
Amazing.
And some of them were really interesting and quick in a sense.
Yeah. So 7 years ago, that was like when Bluetooth Low Energy came up, right, in the market. Did you do anything with that?
Not in the first. Actually, the first projects I did were like, for instance, the first one of the first. I don't remember the order exactly, but it was some kind of glasses that were meant for people, actually for kids with strabism. I don't know if the name is right.
Yep.
Like
Okay.
their eyes just move away from the focus, and it was a mix. So we were using some glasses they use for marketing that they know where you're looking at.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
The
then
IR tracking.
these 3D TVs glasses that actually darken each of the glass
Yeah.
in
Oh yeah.
at
Amazing.
100 Hz or something like that.
Yeah.
So I could actually control the darkness of one of the eyes depending on where the kid was looking at.
Wow.
That was
Nice
pretty
idea.
cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, but
Super
these are like maker projects with different technologies, APIs, and the glasses themselves were pretty big and clumsy. Yeah.
Of course. Okay. Great.
They're super interested. And like you mentioned that you start like creating your own projects and then you join to like to companies to develop different proof of concept in this area. But you in this like creation process you create some open source projects which are like well known in the IoT community. One of them is ESPurna, and the other one that is super difficult to pronounce. FauxmoESP, I think so, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
it's FOMO,
FUMO.
ESP, FOMO, because it's a French word, but it's half of it. It's a French word for Faux, which means false, and more because in the beginning, the FOMO ESP is a project trying to provide Alexa connectivity to ESP8266 devices. So it actually behaves itself as if it was a Wemo from Belkin. I don't know if you remember those devices that were connected to Alexa. And from Wemo comes the name FOMO, for false Wemo, so to say. And it was a project initially in Python by a guy, I think he was called Chris something, and I ported it to ESP4266, and it was because I thought it was cool to have actually a device that could interact, something like an IoT device that could interact with Alexa.
In an easy way.
And yeah, and it got some one day it happened to be other fruit made a video about the FOMO ESP project. So I had like that peak of visits to my project and a lot of people interested in it.
Amazing.
And it was like a big thing in that moment. And the other one is ESPurna. ESPurna is actually a Catalan word, which means spark, like electric spark. And the name comes from the first time I tried to flash a son-off with a custom firmware, and you can imagine what happened. and so I thought it's a cool name because it's ESPurna. It begins with ESP, which is ESP8266. So it was a cool name for a project, and that's how it all began with ESPurna.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, it was just like a small firmware to control some devices I had at home. And it started growing. Now there is another project much well known that's ESPurna, which is Tasmota. But ESPurna is going well. Yeah.
So it's not a commercial project, though.
It's not a commercial project. It's open source. It's GPL. Maybe what I should say about ESPurna and about FOMO is that what happens with all these projects that you're doing on your spare time, and they're open source, and it's cool because a lot of people just pings you and emails you and thanks you for what you're doing. And there's also a lot of people creating issues, saying things don't work, this is shit.
Or asking you to fix it.
Yeah, both sides.
Yeah.
And at some point, for me, it happened that I had to make a choice, and I couldn't spend more time, or I couldn't invest more time on these projects. So since there was a community behind them, and there was a lot of people interested in the projects, I actually handed them to someone else. People that are working on these projects now. Max is taking care of ESPurna, and Paul is taking care of FauxmoESP, and that's great. I think it's good to be able to hand it out and have other people continue your work. Yeah.
The next generation. Yeah, that's really good. So is that the project you're most proud of then, or ESPurna?
It's a project my daughters are most proud of. I'm a ESPurna guy from them. Yeah. And the day I told them that I was leaving ESPurna and handing it to someone else, they got mad at me.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a great project. I mean, it's a lot of hours, a lot of lines of code, and a very interesting one. And I have a lot of devices with ESPurna at home, mostly monitoring consumption and this kind of stuff.
That's really great to have such a thing at that scale. I think we lost Maria a little bit. She was having internet problems, but I'll just continue. I mean, so recently you've moved to LoRaWAN quite heavily, right? That's the new thing for you. So can you tell us a bit about that? What are you doing with LoRaWAN?
Yeah, well, I jumped in the Things Network train in 2016, I think it was. There was one guy in Barcelona trying to put together a community of people to do things, to deploy gateways and do use cases. At that moment, there was this guy, Walter Tevens. There was another guy you know very well, Mark Bose, trying to do something on this. Yeah. And Mark had another project at the moment, so he could not spend a lot of time on it. And I jumped in with other people. I mean, it was like a team effort. In 2018, we were 9 doing like workshops and deployment on the city of Barcelona. We deployed like 14 gateways at the moment, and did like, I don't know, 40 workshops for different kind of workshops, from technical workshops to social workshops, trying to evangelize the communities or the entities in the city that this was a platform they could use to build things on top of it. And we were very aligned, philosophically aligned with the Things Network manifest. So yeah, that was when it all started for me, doing IoT with LoRa. And
yeah, that's great. So you're the leader of the Things Network in Barcelona, I guess.
No,
well, there's no leader, but
there's no leader.
The inspirational person, at least.
The cool thing about the team in Barcelona is that we have different profiles, each of us, and that we know that the technology by itself will not take us to where we want to get. So we put a lot of effort in communication, in contacting the entities in the city, in doing workshops, not only technical workshops, in doing workshops at schools. Yeah. So, and there were different profiles inside the team that matched each of these roles.
Oh, that's
great. And that's cool.
Yeah, that's really good. And so I guess you were very successful with that. And is it used?
It's always, well, actually, that was in 2018. 2019 was kind of in the middle year, and we started 2020 with a lot of projects. It was going great until the COVID came up. And then we had to stop doing workshops and this kind of stuff because there was no way to meet people. And that was like a block for us. But we continue working for municipalities, mainly for municipalities that they are, some of them are in charge of their. Hi, Maria.
I'm back.
Hello, Maria. You're back.
I had an issue with my computer, sorry. Okay, but I was following the session on YouTube. So go ahead.
Yeah, then some of these municipalities, they are working hard on controlling their own waste processes or water management, and they also wanted to have control over the network that monitors all this stuff. So the Things Network or an open network was a good idea for them, and that's why we are working with them.
Great. So how many gateways do you have in Barcelona? Can you just tell our viewers?
Of course, not all the gateways in Barcelona are managed by the TTN community. We actually to be able to do all this effort, we had to switch from community, which is like a group of people and nothing else, to a company. We decided to be a cooperative, which was philosophically was very aligned with what we wanted.
Yeah.
So we are now in a cooperative called Fem Pro Comuns, which means like something like we are doing something for the common good, okay? And has other projects like Commons Cloud, you might check, which is like an alternative to privative clouds.
Right.
And we are working from this cooperative, but of course not all the gateways in Barcelona or around Barcelona are managed by us. They have their own owners. Actually, there's a big company in Catalonia with about 30 gateways connected to the Things Network, which is really cool. And they work in agriculture, so that's one of the verticals where LoRaWAN excels. And yeah, I don't know, maybe in Barcelona and around there are like 20-something outdoors gateways. I mean, I'm not counting indoors or single channel gateways, only outdoors gateways, and about 60 in Catalonia.
Well, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Yep, you can continue.
Yeah, no problem. So, like as you may know, like the development of LoRaWAN networks here in South America, where I am based, compared to Europe, like we have a pretty big difference. And also, like there are some cities that doesn't find like that the technology is like important for some use cases. So, do you have like any recommendation for someone who is looking to do the same as you did, like for Barcelona, to deploy LoRaWAN networks?
Yeah, maybe I think the thing that we are most proud of when we started working in the Things Network community in Barcelona is that we did not focus on technology only, and like I said already, and it's important to not being a group of people trying to deploy gateways for you don't know why, right? It's important to have use cases, and the use cases come from the needs of the entities or the people in the city. So working together with the entities in the city was a game changer. And we actually, during 2018, we started a program of, I don't know, name in English, godfathering, or giving support to the community, where like 15 entities in the city actually signed a manifest giving support to the community and working on trying to find how the technology could benefit them in this case, for each of them. And some projects have arisen from this effort. Not a lot of them, that's true, but I think it's important to put them in the loop and not being just a technological solution, but a social solution as well.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing that.
Do you engage with the universities as well in that process? Or
yeah, actually, the Polytechnical University in Barcelona is one of the players in Barcelona for staff, but the rest of the universities are not. There is a good example of university engagement, which is the Zurich community.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Maybe you know them. Yeah,
they do a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really cool. Actually, they managed to engage the I don't know the name, but it's the group of the group of universities in the town in the country, actually in Sweden, and they all are working hard to deploy this kind of solutions on their facilities, and it's great.
Yep.
And like you say, like you get to all the experience from the software side, and also now with the hardware part. That is like a main benefit that you have as a like IoT developer, because you can cover like all the layers of an IoT deployment. So based on your experience, like there is like any tool that you prefer or any services that you can share to those who are looking to develop like their own integrations, like to fully customized, more on the network and application side.
Yeah. Well, more than a tool, a specific tool, I will. Well, what I will recommend is like a paradigm, like always try to find open solutions. Open in the sense of open specifications, open protocols. So you can, at a certain moment, you will surely find a problem with your project, and you will have to switch from this component to this other component, hardware or software components. So if everything is open, if you have like a way to communicate all the different components in your solution, then it will be easier for you to switch from one specific component to another. And in that sense, I will stress the use of technologies like MQTT, for instance, to make like the glue of all the solutions, or doing business intelligence in Node-RED, which is a great tool and very well integrated with MQTT, that actually lets you connect to almost everything you can have. And that's a good thing to start with. Of course, then you can go to more specific solutions depending on your project. There are visualization IoT platforms, open IoT platforms you can use, like ThingsBoard, like there are a lot of them you can use, and they might fit your specific solution more than Node-RED, which is like generic tool. But the philosophy is the same. I think you have to you have to have clear which are the connections between all the components, and make sure they are open, you control them, and you can switch from one solution to another one.
Yeah, totally agree. And now that you have like a pretty nice t-shirt, I would like to jump to ask you a few questions about RAK itself. Like, what about RAK Wireless? Like, where do you learn? Where did you first learn from us? And why did you choose sometimes RAK Wireless, like for some of your concentrators instead of the other one for our competitors?
Yeah, well, I was trying to think on what was the first product I used by RAK, and I think it was the RAK 811. Actually, I have it, famous one, right? I have it here somewhere. Yeah, here. Actually, I had to go to my car to get it because it's deployed in my car.
Ah, okay.
It's a tracker. It's a tracker. It's a tracker with a battery, a small switch because, yeah, it's not low power. Yeah. And the GPS and the LoRa antenna inside a very, very fancy box. Yeah, I have it in my car, and I use it from time to time when I do TTN mapping.
Of course. Had to be.
Definitely.
I wanted it to be like my car locator to know where it is, but there's not enough coverage where I live yet. I have a gateway here ready to be deployed on top of my house, but not yet. So there's not enough coverage, but the idea would be that. And I think that was the first RAK product I actually had and I actually played with. Yeah. Then I switched it to the other one, the LoRa tracker, I think it was called, like a white PCB. And yeah. And then, and then I started working with, that was when I started doing things with TTN, and I was very interested in having low-cost solutions for gateways. So I started doing things with concentrators. And actually, most of the things I've done with RAK products are gateway-based, so for gateways, not devices. And the first one was this one, which is a Raspberry Pi hat for the RAK 833, the first with a mini PCIe form factor, which I have somewhere here also. I know, and I did it because there was a friend of mine working with the IMST IC880A. I think this name's
You got it right.
like,
Yeah, that's
and he was doing a Raspberry Pi HUD with it, like a not a HUD, but a
quite big, isn't it?
It's really big. And I thought this one is much smaller. It's actually Raspberry Pi size almost, so you can fit it on top of it, and it's nice looking also. And like 1 month later or 2 months later, Pi Supply had their own. So yeah, well, I did mine first, and it worked.
Amazing.
And yeah, and that was the first one I was working on. Then I switched it to this ones, which 2245, right?
5, yeah.
Actually, when I was talking about what happened last year, we bought like 15 of these with their antennas, the Raspberry Pis, their boxes, everything, to do workshops in Barcelona, to like a do-it-yourself gateway workshop. And that was just, the first workshop was scheduled for the week next to when we were all locked down. So we couldn't make them, and I still have like 15 of these around.
Well, you can start deploying the coverage in the town where you are right now.
Yeah, I think with 1 or 2 it's enough. I live in a very small town.
It's a pretty small one.
The cool thing about the project was not that it was a do-it-yourself project. We wanted to do it also in the public Fab Labs in Barcelona City. In Barcelona has a private Fab Lab, but they also have like 3 different public Fab Labs paid by the major, by the city hall, and they do more or less the same as a Fab Lab, and they also do like helping people get in touch with technology, people around the facility, right? So we wanted to do these workshops there, 3 different workshops in the 3 different Fab Labs, public Fab Labs. They are called Ateneus de Fabricació. That's one word. And the point was that, of course, we only had 15 of these, 5 for each of the workshops. We wanted like 15 people in each workshop in teams of 3, knowing how to actually build the gateway. And one of them will like adopt the gateway. So he will be responsible to deploy it wherever he could. And that was a way to spread the connectivity or densify the network in Barcelona and thereabouts. But we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Still want to do it, but the thing now is that it's almost cheaper to buy a commercial gateway than do a do-it-yourself one.
Yeah,
And,
it's
like,
true. Yeah.
And how was like their planning for the workshop itself? Like how was like the structure to deploying that gateway?
Well, it was a build it yourself.
From zero.
Yeah, from zero. You have all the components, and you have to put them together in the box. Know how to connect the antennas, how to drill the box to do the host and mechanize the box, and how to deploy the firmware in the Raspberry Pi.
Exactly.
And at the moment, it was like the RAK firmware, of course, and now we are planning to do it with Balena.
Yeah, that is why I was asking.
Yeah, or I think Mark will be very happy for that.
Yeah.
Great. Just a basic station and that's it.
Yes.
Nice. And now that you have the WISplug t-shirt, can you share us your thought about the WISplug, even if you haven't tested yet?
Oh, you haven't?
I have not tested. No. My WISplug is somewhere between Shenzhen and Barcelona.
like a lot of people, I think. Yeah.
And I hope it will arrive first thing next Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
And then I will have the chance to actually test it. But I think it's a great platform. It's very interesting and challenging. The bet you have, guys, at RAK to actually build a product that could be used for prototyping phase, for proof of concept, and as a production deployment, even if in low quantities. So that's really interesting to know how it will perform and if it really works as that. I know, of course, for prototyping, for education, I think it's a great platform, very good one. I know people who hate cables, the phone cables. They hate them with all their soul. So that's something interesting to have. And then, yeah, and that will be I have a couple of projects in mind. One of them for a client of mine, trying to use SwissBlock with it. So that will be like a field test for it.
We look forward to know more details about that project later.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but it's very true about the wires. I mean,
Yeah.
especially software people, they don't like messy desks. They like their space and everything
The clean space.
in order.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
I know.
with
I love them. I love them. Actually, my blog,
yeah.
I had the banner was like a bunch
Just
of
wires.
cables. Yeah,
There is something funny about that. There's a picture around there on the internet that is like a Bob Marley a picture with all the cables in there.
yeah. But I guess, well, the people I know that they hate them are mostly teachers. They are teaching degrees, the professional degrees. So they know that half of the times they are burning stuff because of bad cable connection.
Yeah, bad cable. Yeah, it gets
But
pulled out.
there is something that also helps people who are like not directly related with electronic also get started with this work in electronic, because you are not going to face with like those small connection wrong connections when you are trying to setting up like a sensor or anything. Maybe you are in a ground or something like that. So here,
it was like what I said before about my first project with an Arduino that was just stacking stuff on top, and that was cool because there was no need to actually know how to connect stuff and what these cables do, right? What buses were involved and this kind of stuff, and I could focus on programming what I wanted to do, which is cool.
Which is what you was looking for in that moment.
Yeah, right.
The only difference is before you had like a bunch of shields instead of an Arduino Uno, like looks like a sandwich, a big sandwich.
Pretty high could be.
Yeah. And now you have it like in a pretty small form, which is super cool.
Yeah,
that's what people say initially. They say, "Oh, this is so small." I mean, that's what they say about WizBlock. It's makes everything tiny, especially the screws.
Especially the screws.
One thing I already have is the famous screwdriver.
Oh,
ready. Oh, good. You're ready
for the WizBlock.
Yeah, you're super ready. Like you really need it. Trust me.
Yes, no. Sometimes I need to check, is this an ant on my desk or is it a screw?
No, actually, every time that I'm going to screw one, it's like, okay, I am always scared to lose one of them. It's like, okay, they're super tiny, but that is what make it in a small form. So that is awesome.
Yeah, I think.
So we have like an space like for a demo. Like I don't know if you want to share something else that you have in your desk, or talk a little bit more about one of the other projects you have developed.
Yeah, well, actually, I have not a demo per se. I just wanted to show you some stuff I have on my desk or I'm working on lately, and maybe you can help me.
Okay, sounds people, if you know how to help them, feel free to leave your comments.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to show you one project I'm working on. It's a carrier for initially it is for an Arduino MKR 1300, the LoRaWAN one.
LoRaWAN.
Yeah, this is an inclinometer, so to measure inclinations on trees. This is for a project where we are measuring the inclination of monumental trees, those trees that have some kind of meaning for their age or where they are located, and so they cannot be cut off because they have meaning, they have something, they are important, so they have to monitor the inclination in case they are like bending or like, yeah. And we are working, we had this first prototype with, this is an inclinometer, and not the other way here. This is an SCL 3300, I think. Yeah, with very good precision in a microbus form factor.
All right.
We wanted to do it modular, so we can actually switch to another solution. So it's everything modular. There is some components here to control. There's a TPL 51111, which is a nano timer. So you can actually control via hardware, which is the data cycle of your device, and switch it off and switch it on every 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour. So it's an easy way to do a low power device without messing into low power microcontroller definitions and this kind of stuff. You just switch it off and that's it. And it worked fine. So we are pretty happy with it. And now we are in the stage to make it smaller. So like having a small solution with everything integrated, maybe with a different kind of battery, we don't know yet. And I am working with different possible solutions. The first one would be to use the good old Xose Peréz 95. It's cool. I have used it somewhere. The other one is the Cube Cell, which you might know. And the last
that one, it doesn't.
You don't know that one. Yeah. And the other one is here. This one, the best one. The best one, you know.
The best one is right? Okay, but the WizBlock is better.
No, the truth is that I wanted to test this one because I only need the module itself, so the system in package. I only need the module itself. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not very good at radio frequency design in PCBs, so I always try to find a module with all the transmission lines included and the connector for the antenna included. This one does not have it. The Cube Cell does, but RAK has a couple of them with the antenna. So I think we will go. I will go for one of these with the antenna included to not mess with RF design.
Yeah, with the with the UFL connector, it's much easier. You just connect it.
Actually, I wanted to talk about something too. The first device we designed, we did it with MKR form factor because we wanted to have both options to use LoRaWAN and to use WISE. I don't know if you know about WISE. Right now I work at a company called AllWise, which we do projects with the WISE protocol. The WISE protocol is an LP1 protocol working at 169 megahertz. And it's actually an evolution of the wireless M-bus. So it has some benefits from LoRa, for instance, like, of course, physical benefits. The frequency being a lower frequency, you can actually go deeper into obstacles, which is great for instance, water management or things that might be in underground. Then that's where it excels. So we are working on this kind of solutions at AllWise. With different AllWise actually tries to get this kind of LP1 solution to the maker world with solutions they are used to use, like a shield for the Arduino Uno or an MKR with the same chip as the Arduino one. So we wanted to have this option. So that's why the first option was to work with the MKR form factor, so we can switch from LoRa to WISE easily. Now that we know that we are going to work with LoRa, then we are in phase 2 and we are working on this other integration. Yeah. So this is one project. I don't know if you have any questions about it. As I told you, we are still in a very definition of the second phase, trying to find out which is the best way to make it smaller. WizBlock was not in the list. Maybe I should try to put it.
Yeah, because we might have an inclinometer coming, actually.
Interesting.
So yeah, I
And
mean
in kilometers.
inclinometers, yeah, they're very useful in like measuring poles to see if they're falling down, because it's a big problem in utility poles. And of course, trees and buildings as well. You want to monitor if they're kind of
Seismic.
yeah, like not just seismic, but the whole construction is not moving. So you want to measure that. So
Okay.
it's super popular.
Yeah, and it's very easy to use actually. So
Yeah.
And the other project I wanted to show you is this one, which is like a yeah, looks like an ET something.
Like an spider.
Spider, I know. This is an ESP32 based LoRaWAN gateway. This one has the RAK 833 I told you about before.
Yeah.
And I'm working now on the second, actually the third iteration for the RAK 2287. And the goal here is to have a small form factor gateway that could fit into a box this size, let's say, which is like, I don't know, 8 centimeters long, maybe, or 10, and very low cost. And that's what I'm working on. And I'm working on the hardware part of it, which is what I do worst. Actually, the firmware it has is a Lua RTOS based firmware that is developed by a guy here near Barcelona, which is called Jaume Oliver. And it's a very, very interesting project, open source project, Lua RTOS. And we are working on having a solution for it. And that's pretty cool. I think it's interesting. I'm still working on doing gateways, even though they are very cheap now. But yeah, that's what I like.
You want to keep improving them.
So is that an ESP
866? It's a 32
gateway,
yeah.
right? Okay, so you're competing with the TTIG then, with the better processor.
Right. That was the origin of the stuff, to have a TTIG alternative that I could actually flash with the firmware I wanted to and configure to point somewhere else, not only TTN.
So it's not locked down. Yeah.
No.
I understand that. Great.
Yeah.
And also like some plans to make it like portable in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, actually it has a battery connector. There was a mistake here. The cables in the battery connector are switched.
So typical.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. So the goal is not to have like a super low power gateway, although the of course a RAK 2287 is very low power compared to the other solutions from RAK or any other provider. The goal here is to have something I could use for workshops or like a small in-time deployment. Like, okay, I want to deploy a gateway here for a performance for a mooring. That was the goal of the target of the device. Not to have a permanent deployment, or not to have like something super steady in a single place. But yeah, so that's I wanted it to have some portability. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we can jump to the Q&A session. So if anyone who of all of those who are connected have a question, feel free to leave it on the comment section. We have one here from Alex Corbis, who is not Alex Corbis, but I am going to keep your secret name. I'm wondering, will you make a post on your personal blog after tinkering with the Wiz blog? It has been a while since you no new post.
Yeah, actually 2020 was a hard year, so I had to focus on feeding my family. I don't know, on working. So some of these projects, like I mentioned before, some of these open source projects I was working on, I had to leave them for a while, and my blog was another one of these projects I have not updated in a while too. That's true, Alex. Thank you for reminding me. I don't know. I might. Yeah, I think it could be cool. I have a lot of things I wanted to talk about, but I don't have the time to actually. It takes a long time to write a post.
Yeah,
like days, and it's very tiring. Yeah.
And like as an IoT developer, and of course as a passionate maker like you are, I would like to know if what would you recommend to all of those who are connected to as a new trending technology to stay focused on at the moment, and what do you think is going to be make impact in the IoT ecosystem in the future?
I know.
A hard question.
If I knew, no. I mean, I don't know. I think. So if, for instance, I started doing stuff. Not at that moment. It was not IoT. It was like domotics, home automation, with son of devices and this kind of stuff, with ESPurna, etc. And that was because hardware was cheap enough, and someone had the idea to actually do a port of the Arduino framework to the ESP8266. So that was a combination that made that easy for a lot of people to start working on this kind of devices, right? And I think it will happen the same with LoRa in the near future. I think that LoRa prices, chips will go low. Because I think the LoRa has a lot of path to walk on inside houses, inside offices, and we already know that there are big actors working on that. And yeah, I think there will be other people trying to join in and giving solutions for home automation and this kind of stuff using LoRa as an alternative to other stuff like Z-Wave or Zigbee or this kind of technologies. Zigbee, for instance, is very cheap at the moment, and we see that there are a lot of companies providing solutions using Zigbee, like IKEA or Xiaomi or this kind of companies. I think LoRa will take the baton, and will be the next technology in home automation. But I'm not sure. I know. So I think that the one that can lower the prices of the technology will actually be the one in leading the competition.
Oh, she got stuck. Maria?
Yeah.
If Social Maria speak Spanish I know I forgot in English. Because we are talking with people who are also speaking English. But yeah, I think we highly need an space in Spanish, because we are getting a lot of people joining from different places in South America, who are native Spanish speakers. So yeah, it would be nice to also have that one. So yeah, I don't know if anyone have another additional question. I would like just to jump with like a last one on my side, and is that if you have like any message you would like to share with our community of entrepreneurs, makers, and engineers, what would it be?
With the community, with the RAK community, you mean?
The IoT community,
Yeah,
yeah.
The IoT community. I don't know. Like I said before, I think open is the future. We are now doing a video conference from different parts in the world, even though we all speak Spanish. But yeah, and it's because the internet is here, and the internet is based on open source projects almost entirely. So don't fear doing things in open. Your business model can be somewhere else. It's not only about selling stuff, right? So it's about providing good solutions. And if you're doing things in the open, then some people might be interested in joining you or using your solutions, because they know you're not going to just leave them once you switch to something else, right? And I think that's something that it's true for people working in open, in like small solutions, freelancers, etc., and companies as well. At Always, for instance, we do everything in the open. All our firmware, the hardware is open source, because that was not what we wanted to. We didn't want to make money out of selling things, but out of providing solutions. And then the monetization is somewhere else, not in the code or in the hardware design. And if you're doing it, then take your time to read the licenses. Very important.
To what?
To read the licenses.
Yeah.
The open source licenses. To choose from, to read the different ones that there are, software and hardware ones, and choose the right one for you. Yeah, I know it's sometimes boring. A lot of people don't like doing it, but it's worth it. Do it.
Yeah, you must do it, guys. So yeah, we don't have any additional question, but let's see if those who are connected want to participate. We are going to be giving away to RAK mats for those who answer the question that Xose will be asking right now. So keep your here up, and Xose, can you share us two questions? The first one.
Yeah, the first question is, what does ESPurna mean?
Ooh.
It's a Catalan word.
It's unfair for Catalan speakers.
Alex is from Barcelona.
Okay. No, Alex is not from Barcelona.
Okay.
I don't think he knows Catalan. No, he's from Asturias.
I think Mark will win this one.
Mark, no. Yeah. I don't know if he's here.
But actually, you shared it during the session, so
Yes. Yeah.
maybe if one of those who are connected listen well to the chat, you will. Let's see.
So we're waiting for the right answer, or may I ask the second question?
You can jump to the second
ahead.
question, and then we will receive one.
Okay, the second question is, what protocol are we using at Always? The one I mentioned, working at 169 megahertz, not LoRa.
Okay. We have the two questions right now.
This one is pretty easy, yeah?
Yeah. One.
Yeah, it's in the name.
Yeah, exactly.
Might as well give them away.
Oh no. Let's see. People also want to talk right today. I don't know what happened. So
do they have time to do it, or they have to do it now?
No. They have a couple of minutes to do it. Okay. I don't know if in the time that I was out of the session, Jose asked you about the projects that you are most proud of, which was like the harder one that you have developed, and the one that you must enjoy so far.
So ESPurna might be the one I have invest most time, or more time. It's like, I don't know, tons of thousands of lines of code, and like 150 different devices supported, and it's like nonsense. But yeah, I have some projects here because I was ready to like show different stuff, and maybe one of the projects I'm most proud of is because of the different technologies that were involved. Was a series of projects I called slices, because they are like sliced.
Okay.
You can see it. So it's wood and acrylic. There's an ESP8266 inside, and this is a clock. All makers do clocks. Yeah. This is a clock I might show you.
GPS clock.
I find the right cable here. Yes. So I don't know if you see it. Where is the camera? Here.
Okay.
I think it's this way. Right.
The
light, maybe it's not. It's a Fibonacci clock.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a Fibonacci clock. Actually, I don't think the colors are good enough in the camera, but anyway, it's like blue, green, red. Ah, Alex.
Alex.
We got the reply for the meaning of ESPurna, ESP is chispa.
In
Which
Spanish,
in
it's
English,
chispa, right?
yeah, which in English is a spark. So Alex, you would be receiving a rack mat for your workbench. And we haven't received any response yet for the other question. Maybe so hard for all of those who are connected.
Come
No,
on,
just
what is the
kidding.
protocol we are using at All Wise?
Wise.
Oh no.
Dear.
So yeah, no, I think that is all for the session. Thanks, Alex, for your participation. I will contact you later. And yeah, I think that's all. Sosha, thanks for sharing your experience with us. I really enjoyed chatting with you and knowing a little bit more about the projects you are currently working on and you have worked before as well. I really enjoyed this moment. I hope everyone who connect enjoyed as much as I did. And also, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much to you. I also enjoyed it a lot. Thanks for the invitation.
And yeah, I look forward to working with you in some of the projects together in Zoom. And also, we'll keep an eye of the upcoming projects you will be sharing with the community. And yeah, that's all for the session. For all of those who are watching the session later, and if you have any question about the session, feel free to leave your question in the comment section, and Sasha, Jose, and or I will be happy to answer any question you may have. Before leaving, guys, folks, be sure to press the like button if you enjoyed the session, and also subscribe to the channel to get
Are we doing
updated.
that?
Yeah, we need to increase our community. So subscribe to the channel.
Okay, fair enough.
Do it
ahead,
now.
guys. Do
now,
it
now,
now.
subscribe. Okay, we hope to see you next time. Enjoy the
See
rest of
you.
your morning, afternoon, and best wishes to all of you. And happy hacking. See you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.